Welcome to Insights. Last week, I talked about how God is weighing nations in the Bible from Jeremiah 18:7 through 10, what I believe to be the bedrock or the foundation of God's now message to our nation. So that might not be the most important passage for all Christians in terms of their personal growth. It could be helpful, but I believe it is among the most important passages that God wants to get out to his people right now in our nation in terms of the macro picture. This week, I want to put that principle of how God is weighing nations in the balance, I want to put that in the context of the chapter. It's found in Jeremiah chapter 18, verses 7 through 10, and it's verses 1 through 6 that give us a powerful insight as well. In verses 1 through 6 that give us the context, it's a passage that's often referred to as the potter's house. God tells Jeremiah, go to the potter's house. Look at the clay that he's forming on the wheel, and I will speak to you. And God does speak to Jeremiah. And as the clay does not turn out the way the potter had intended it to turn out, he makes it into something else. Here's the key insight for this week. Our choices matter. And yes, they matter as individuals, and that's taught throughout the entire Bible, but in this passage, it's talking about nations, that our choices as a nation matters. Now, again, that begins with us as individuals, but it's also reflected in corporately, like let's say within the church. Are we seeking God wholeheartedly? Are we making that choice? Are we making a choice to compromise? Even within the church, God is weighing that in the balance. You can look at the decisions that are made by government and legislation and so forth. Are those decisions honoring to God? We can look at mindsets throughout the culture. And one that comes to my mind immediately from working on the university campuses for so many years, and that is, are we seeing God as creator, or are we resigning ourselves to believing in simply a random evolutionary process? So anyway, there's all of these kinds of decisions that a nation makes. Again, yes, the individual is important, but nationally, God is looking at the mindset, and he is deciding what he will do next. And it actually says, it's actually teaching that if a nation doesn't follow God's will in ways, that's the idea that the clay is not cooperating in Jeremiah 18, 1 through 6, that God will do something else. In one translation even says he's going to start over. So it's that context of how important choices are by the people that we get the timeless principle of Jeremiah 18, 7 through 10, that God is weighing nations in the balance. So as you go, as you live your Christian life, as you speak out as a forerunner, emphasize to people how much our choices matter to God. We'll see you next week on Insights.